Welcome, Dylan. I see you popped in. If you have any questions for us, we're going to be going through some prepared questions. But if you got any questions for us, put in the Q&A or just raise your hand, and we'll tag you in. So let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about, want us to cover. Otherwise, we'll just go through the stuff that we have. But um, but yeah, the sleep quality is critical,
Yeah.
absolutely critical. So
Yep. You can't be productive and have a good mind without it. But I really think that CBD oil, I tell you right now, as far as getting to sleep, buddy, the fucking lights are out like 10 minutes. I mean,
yeah.
I'm gone.
It's not getting to sleep. It's just quality of sleep once you're there.
Well, no, it's always been both. But
Yeah.
now that
Oh, with the
CBD
CBD.
oil, whew, I mean, I take it, I get a shower, I lay down. Haley's got about 5 minutes to talk to me, or she's talking to the wall.
Or that's it. That's
Yep.
funny. Um, all right, let's get into some questions here. I got a question lined up here. How do I verify that all materials received are going to be up to spec before we start the install?
Yeah. So, I mean, in a perfect world, we're not currently doing it. We used to do it. We used to do a pre-job inspection. So once the material was delivered, we would physically the when we
Spec
don't
them.
currently have project managers, and that's why we're not doing it currently. But if you have project managers, once that delivery is made, they should be doing a pre-job. Checking the material, checking the delivery. We used to do it where they would meet the driver at the job, and that way we could place it, made sure the placement was right, made sure everything was right, make sure the color of the drip edge is right, make sure there wasn't a fork that got ran through the skid of shingles, because that happens. Just things like that. But you know at the end of the day, what we found is we've made such good relationships with our suppliers, and have built such a good trust with them. I mean, I can't think of the last time they truly like had a defect in the delivery as far as a color, or as far as the quality of the material that showed up. They've I won't add that back to a project manager's uh job scope when we go back to that, because it's just been, I mean, if it happens once a year, that's more than normal. So I mean, I'm not going to spend the fuel, the time, the effort in doing that, because the relationship with our supplier is just so good, and they do such a good job taking care of us, that it's not worth all of that effort to verify that we trust their verification was good. And then to go one step further, the foreman on the job site has the scope of work. He has the work order. I mean, he's supposed to be checking it when he shows up to start the project. So if for some reason that once a year it was wrong, he can call us real quick, say, "Hey, I'm getting ready to tear this thing off. You got brown drip edge here, and it should be white." Okay, sounds good. Move on. We'll bring white out. You know, but that's how we handle it now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Makes sense. It's like why spend all that time every time? If you know that if something does go wrong, you can get it fixed quickly.
I'll tell you, I get asked from people like about project management, right? And about it goes with this. They're always asking like, well, so your guys are just cradle to grave, and yeah, that sales guy sells it, gets it to completion, blah blah blah. And everybody is like, well, that's not a model for growth. Like that's a really tough way to grow. And then you read, all these books. I think that Martin Pettigrew is a big believer in splitting everything. Everybody has a role, and they're to perfect that role. Um, Salespeople that are good salespeople are not good at managing projects, blah blah. That's always what I hear anyway. But I'll be honest with you, I just have a hard time believing it. Project management's not that tough, and we are in residential roofing. Now, if you were in commercial roofing, this does not apply. That's different. Very seldom in residential roofing does a project take more than 2 days. And in most cases, I would say I would say 80% of our projects are one day. The remaining 20%, there might be 5% that, I wouldn't even say 5%, maybe 3% that take more than 2 days. So my point to all that to be said is, you've made a relationship. The salesperson's made that relationship with the homeowner. The homeowner has been in contact. They have their phone number. That's who they know. That's who they communicate with. So for a 1 day project, why messy up and muddy the waters, creating a handoff with a person that only is going to be involved for 1 day, like 1 day? Because at the end of the day, I don't care what theory you believe in. I think most people believe the sales rep should be the one collecting the payment, unless your admin person in the office is doing it. But most people believe the sales rep, because if that's who sold the job, that's who should receive the payment. So chances are you're putting building a role for a person to deal with a customer for 1 day, and you're talking maybe could be as little as 1 or 2 communication points. Like, it could be next to nothing. It could be, hey, we're going to be there in the morning. Hey, this is Scott, I'm your project manager. We're going to be there in the morning. If they're gone for work, you're not even ever seeing them. Yeah. So it's like, was it really worth?
And what you just said can be easily automated with Proline.
So that's what we do.
Yeah,
that's what we do. It's automated in Proline. As soon as they move to production, it's all automated. Yeah. And it's like, I've been told from a couple private equity companies that that's a really tough model for growth, and that's not, not sustainable to hit certain numbers. I'm doing it, and I don't see why I'm ever going to need to get away from it. I see a need for a couple positions in due time. If we're running 5 to 7 projects a day, I think we would have somebody that you could call them a project manager, but essentially all they're going to be is bitch. Like, they're just going to run, take care of errands. You know what I mean? Like, I hate to call it that. I'm just saying they're not a manager of anything. They're just available. They're just somebody on the staff, on the team, that's basically a team player. And when they get a call, they got to go, run some material or pick up some returns, or shit, we didn't get this cleaned up out of the yard. Hey, go grab that real quick, But right now, I mean, like, I think even then, it's not a project manager role. They still would not be the communication point to a customer. To me, that communication should be with the sales rep all the way through, because it's such a short window for a handoff. Like, it makes no sense to me. Commercial, absolutely. I think you need a project manager. I think that project manager should be on that specific job site. But you're also talking tickets of $100,000 to $1 million, or whatever, like in that range. That makes sense to have a full-time personnel on that job site that understands the installation process and understands how to communicate the installation with the crew to the homeowner, and coordinate the logistics of the job. Totally different. So I don't know. Like I said, I do things a lot different than a lot of people, and I know that there's people that will disagree with all of what I've said, and that's okay. But my God, with the little bit of technology that we have, it's not like we've got some crazy tech stack. We use Proline and Company Cam. That is it. I mean, that's essentially it.
Yeah, we
don't need it. I just can't see, even in the future. I think we could do $25 million worth of revenue without it. I think we need a sales manager in the coming years. That's going to happen. Someone to oversight the sales reps, but my sales reps are completely trained on installation. So they understand how a roof's put on. They know the process. You can't sell a roof in good will to like you have to understand the installation process to be able to sell it to somebody.
Yeah.
So why can't they just manage that little bit of project management? The other key is train your foreman. If your crew knows how to communicate a little bit with the customer, how to install the roof properly, what the expectations are before, during, and after the job, I don't know what you know, I just don't.
What?
I just don't see the need for it. I think it's
No.
a waste of money in most instances.
A lot of things are, and this is true of most industries, but I mean, it's definitely true in roofing where it's, people think, oh, I got to run my business this way because I see X company doing it and they're really successful. So I see Monarch Roofing, and Monarch Roofing has Monarch Roofing super successful, and they have inside sales reps and they have product managers and they have outside sales reps. So because that's the way Monarch Roofing does it, I need to do that to achieve my goals. And it's entirely, there's nothing that says that that is how you what you have to do to be successful. It just so happens that what they're doing has helped them and works for them. But it's also, if you read the Monarch Roofing book, they were doing everything manually. They're doing all their sales follow-ups manually. They talked about this software that helped them to do it. The software just tells them what people to text manually. They still have to send the text manually. So there's no automations. They didn't have Proline. So when you don't have that system in place to automate things like sales follow-up, to automate those touch points during the production process, and automate that communication, keep the customer in the know, then yeah, you do have to hire people for all these positions. But that's not the only solution. There's, at the end of the day, the goal, you got to stay focused on the goal of selling the work, doing the work, keeping the customer in the loop the entire time. And if those boxes are being checked and you're able to do it over and over and over again, then yeah, why can't it scale? There's
Yeah,
no reason it can't scale.
and you're exactly right. My way is not going to fit a lot of people. You know, I'm sure a lot of people have a better have their system. The the point is, I think that a lot of these companies and Monarchs, like, dude, I don't know any of them or any I don't know anybody associated. I just know that I spent some time in Hilton Head and like Wilmington, North Carolina area. Their freaking trucks are everywhere, so they're doing something right because they're like you can't drive down the street and not see them on our truck, sign, billboard, like something.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a lot of fluff potentially in that company, and I could be wrong. You know, I could be
Well, it's
completely wrong.
it's a well-to-do area, right? They're able
Yes,
to sell very large projects at a relatively large margin.
and that's a big part of it. If if they wanted to get lean and mean, though, they could cut their overhead significantly, put a bunch of automation in place, take over. I don't have any inside sales. That's another position I can't wrap my freaking head around for the life of me. Everybody talks about having an inside salesperson. I'm like, what the hell for?
At least
Throw
not
them
when
in
you have
a
Proline.
campaign and let the damn campaign follow up with them in Proline. I don't have to do nothing. They actually today I spent half a day today revamping Proline, my Proline. Went through a bunch of stuff to really try to. I spaced out messaging from my email and my text. I put like a 3 minute lag between a bunch of them to where it looked, again, even more realistic. We've created a long term sales follow up that they'll go into after 180 days. That's a recycle. Like, they'll never go out of it unless we physically. You know, we just did a bunch of stuff today to really. I would rather take a half a day and do that than pay a full time inside salesperson. Our response rate is fantastic on sales follow up. Why would I want to pay somebody to do it? Like,
Or if you're going to do it, because there are some companies that use Proline that have inside sales reps. But if you're going to do it, why not have them use Proline, where now 80% of that job is automated and all they do is make phone calls and add additional manual communication on top of the automations. So you can have, instead of having to have one inside sales rep for every outside sales rep, now you can have one inside sales rep that can do the inside sales rep role for like 8 sales reps or 10 sales reps, right? So
sure.
it's like, it's not necessarily that like that's a bad model. It depends on your market, depends on the size of company you're at and all that. But it's yeah, I mean it's like automate what you can. Like getting romantic about like automating stuff and not automating stuff doesn't no one is going to give you an award for that.
Let me ask you this though. So I like that idea better with inside sales, but what if you called me to give you a quote on a roof, I was a sales rep that showed up to your door. I knock on the door, we meet, we sit down at the kitchen table, I go over the quote with you, I leave you a contract that you can sign, and I got one in your email that you can DocuSign and send me. We've made a relationship. I pet the dog. We hit it off. We talked about the pictures on your walls. Moved on, right? If the next day, 3 days later, 5 days later, 1 week, another man or woman calls you, texts you, and says, "Hey, AJ, this is not Scott following up with you from the appointment you had with Scott. I just want to check in with you." It's not even the same phone number.
Like,
So,
Scott
what's
is
the
Scott too busy
chances you're
for
getting
me?
anywhere?
Yeah.
I just see that being a super low success rate compared to make them salesmen hustle. They're getting paid a shitload of money. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to make $200,000 a year in roofing sales, that is 100% possible. And you know what it takes? It takes you're going to appointments for 8 to 10 hours a day, and then when after you eat your dinner, making sales follow up calls. That's what it takes. If you want to make that kind of money, it's out there. If you're good with making 100 grand, go to appointments for 6 hours a day and do sales follow up calls for the remaining three. Like, this isn't difficult. I just, again, just my opinion. I don't think it's right or wrong. I know for us it works. I know we're very lean. We have very low overhead in payroll. We actually have virtually no payroll on it. It's all commission. And we try to put all of our overhead into our marketing budget as much as possible. So, like I say, I don't know if it's right, but it seems like there's a lot of fat that can be trimmed in some of these companies that could just use some simple automations and to really simplify the process.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
We got
All
way
right.
off the rails on that question.
No, that was fun though. We went down. That was good. All right. So just a reminder to everyone listening, if you have questions, put that in the Q&A and or just raise your hand. There's a hand raise button, and we're happy to address whatever you got. Otherwise, we'll just keep plodding through our questions. So, question here: What after the job is done? Is there documentation that I need to provide to the homeowner in regards to their warranty and or maintenance on their new roof?
Yeah, we used to do, and we still do it. I don't want to say we used to do it. We still do it. We do a closeout packet. So with our jobs, what I meant was we used to hand deliver them. Now we do it primarily through email. There's still a few people because they don't have an email or something odd, we will hand deliver. But through email, we give them a closeout packet, and depending on the warranty that they chose during the project, we send them all their warranty information from manufacturer and from us. We send them a signed and stamped paid invoice. Does it in Proline for you. You just click send, and then we have a little, like, depending on which product you use, it's either a 1 or a 2 pager that just kind of says what to expect from your new roof, like what things to pay attention to, things to maintain. Keep the leaves out of the valleys, keep your gutters free of debris, uh, just things like that, right? Like, nothing. It's residential roofing. There's not a ton of maintenance available. It's basically keeping it clean, clear of trash and debris, things like that. So, yeah, we send them a little something just to make them have a warm fuzzy and feel like we went a little extra mile, and we do. I mean, like, we took the time to make that to where they have something. Most people have no freaking clue what to do. They don't know that all those leaves piled up in the valleys before it snows could create a hell of an ice problem. Most people have no clue that's even an issue.
Yeah.
But or they don't know that the gutters being clogged could cause foundation issues to their basement. So we just try to give them a little bit of insight into that. But yeah, so we just put a little email document together and send it to people.
Yeah. Oh, it's over email. It's not physical.
Again, this is back when we had a
Used to.
project manager. This was one of his jobs, was to physically hand them a folder with this information in it. Again, what we found is nobody really gave a shit. They just as well have it in an email because then they can save it. They can print it themselves. They can save it on a
Find
file
it
on their
later.
computer.
Yeah.
Um, but the other thing too is we don't want to send that until we have a check, right? I'm not giving you your warranty information until you pay your bill. You need to pay your bill, and then I'll get you your warranty documentation. Like that's the only thing I still have. I've given you all the labor, all the material. The only thing I have is the piece of paper left. So I'm gonna hold that until you pay your bill. So my sales rep closes the job out. He takes the check back to the office, and at that time is when he sends that information.
Yep. That makes sense. Makes sense.
If you're not changing, that's just to elaborate on that point. If you're not always looking at changing and bettering your process, then you're just not doing it right. Because there's always little, just like I said today. I mean, I've been using Proline for a year and a half now. Constantly. Today, I spent half a day, and me and one, well, two guys sat in my office for about an hour. They gave me all their thoughts and ideas, and we revamped a few big campaigns, you know what I mean, and really put some time and some thought into that, and what's been working, what's not been working, and changed, you know just like the closeout packets. We realized that it was kind of an inefficiency sending someone back out there to do that. Like that, let's just email it. We've already sold them. We don't need as much personal touch now. We've already sold them the job. We've already got them to leave a review. We've already done all the stuff. Like
Yeah.
this can be a little less formal. Like we can send this as an email and it's okay.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense. All right. How how do you suggest using social proof in your marketing materials for your roofing business? Or just in your marketing? How do you use social proof in your marketing?
Oh yeah, what would you do?
Well, I can tell you what I've tried before. I mean, obviously reviews, that's the ultimate form of social proof. But I do think there are other forms of social proof um that are often overlooked. They're a little bit harder to come by, but um things like getting getting that local award for best roofer.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something you can put in your marketing packet. 2023 Chicago's best roofer 2023. That is impactful. That's not nothing. It's not doesn't automatically win you the job, but it's a piece of social proof that verifies to the homeowner like, oh, this company's legit. This company is they have a reputation on the line. And the I mean, homeowners know, like when they see a lot of reviews, it's definitely impactful, but they know reviews can be faked. Like everyone knows it's that like just a few when you go to Amazon, you see five or six or seven 5-star reviews. That product is not tested, you know, like
Right.
people know. So, but if you can have reviews and you can have some other kind of authoritative social proof. One thing that I did with John is he paid for a radio ad in Athens with like this specific radio host that was like well known in the area, and like everyone knew this guy's name. And so he had this guy do an ad on his show about and in endorsing John, and I think John gave him a deal on his roof or something. Um, I can't remember who it is, but this is actually in all of our default quote templates in Proline. You know that photo of the house with the American flag? That
Yep.
was this guy's house. Someone did photos of it. I mean, so now we use that everywhere. It's a great photo. Like the American flag is just like great touch. But
Yeah.
we did these. It was on. I can't remember if it was on his sales sheets or if it was just in ads or something. But it was like, I had that guy's photo and a quote. The quote of what he said. You should trust if you're looking for the right roofing company, you should trust Delroy Roofing. I trusted them, and my roof looks great, or something like that.
Yep.
And then they had a picture of his house. I can't remember exactly what we ended up doing with it, but we did leverage it in a number of different ways. And I think this is just one piece of the puzzle, but I think that's something that's kind of overlooked. Everyone just sort of focuses on the normal reviews, and the reviews are important. But if you can stack reviews with some other social proof, I think it gets even more powerful.
Yeah, for sure. So it's funny. I didn't even think about that as social proof. My mind goes straight to like social media, YouTube, all that, Google.
Well, I mean that's relevant too, like people
Sure.
talking on social.
But I think you're exactly right though. It's funny you said that about the radio guy. So we literally 3 months, 2 months ago did the exact same thing. We were on the radio. We roofed the manager of the radio station's house, and because we got him in on it, he had to have it done in like a week because his insurance company was going to drop him. So we did it. I mean, it wasn't a big deal. We were only booking out like 2.5 weeks, so it wasn't like we had to move a whole bunch of shit around. It was a 1 day job. So he made a full, what is it, customer testimonial, and played that in place of our normal ad. And it like took up 30 seconds of the 60-second spot was his personal testimonial. I've heard it. I mean, I don't know if it's done anything. I don't know if it's like had impact, but you have to think things like that do have impact. Just like we always, we actually kind of work a little bit harder than most people, and we usually win because of it. The area I live in, everybody calls it the MOV, the Mid Ohio Valley. Like that's just so because we're like that's part West Virginia, that's part Ohio. It's the Mid Ohio Valley, so it's this area that I live in,
Yeah.
and so it's always MOV's best or MOV best that so we always try to win best roofer or best construction company. We always win like best construction company, best contractor, but there's only like one that does roofing specific. And was it 2 years? I think 2 years ago we got second. Last year we got first. But those do hold weight. Like you get to put that sticker on your truck, or you get to hang that plaque in the office. Not that many people see it. Or you can put that they got a little like logo that says like MOV Best 2023. You can slap that thing on a quote. We haven't done that, but you could. You know what I mean? You could put that little logo like in the corner of one of your hero pages on your quote. And then it's just like you said, it's another way to kind of justify that you are good at what you say you're good at.
Yep. 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 Absolutely. I think those are really good. Also, there is a value to these things that you can like add to your website for um different sources. Directory comes to mind. They do one. Um, I think we're gonna do one eventually for Proline. We'll have Proline verified. That's the one that we're working on. But it's like those little things, they do add up. They do add up. It's like, if you never know what's going to tip the balance if someone's looking at two proposals, two contractors, and
Right.
you just never know. Like, and, your prices are about the same, you know, and like they're kind of looking about the same. But it's like if you're the one that has like the certifications, best of MOV, and directory and a couple other things, that could be enough. That could be what pushes someone over the edge. So, and the thing is, it's
It
like,
shows that you're willing to work on those things too.
yeah,
To me, that's the thing. It's like I don't believe I see the best of the MOV, this, that, and the other. I don't believe that guy's the best. I just believe that he put effort into that, which means he probably puts effort into his business. Maybe 5 other guys better, but this guy obviously tries, you know. So I think either way you look at it, even if you don't believe that it's accurate, you still have to consider that, well, he's obviously doing something right or trying harder than the next guy in some aspect because he did win, right?
Yeah. Yep. Makes sense. All right. New question here. What's the best way? You just writing these campaigns in Proline, so this is perfect timing. What's the best way to follow up with leads without coming across as too pushy?
So what we did today was we kept our messaging the same. Very rarely, and we stuck with Proline's out of the box timing as far as 1 day later. I think it's 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, a week, 10 days, 15. Like, I can't remember the exact timing, but we stuck with exactly what Proline's had. And I can think of maybe like 2 or 3 instances people have said, like, could you just back off a little bit? You know what I mean? Like, very, very rarely has anybody ever felt like we were pushy. At least nobody's ever said it, 2 or 3 instances. What we did though was we took them today because, what we want to try to make it look as real as possible. We want everything to not look automated. We want everything to be automated and look completely like it's coming from a human. So what I've made the statement before. I try to put some typos or some inaccurate grammar or punctuation in sales follow-up automated messages. I think that helps because it doesn't look automated. Well, one thing I never really considered, and John, one of my sales reps today, was this morning we were talking, and that's what triggered the meeting today, was most people have push notifications on their email, just like text message. I know I do. And if you're, and I get them, I get them all the time, if you get an email and a text literally seconds apart, you can almost guarantee that was automated, right? Because human can't do that. Like, a human cannot send those. I mean, they could if you're on a computer and on a phone, but my God, what are you doing? Like, you'd have to try. Like, you'd have to physically try to do that. Nobody's doing it. So what we did was, instead of having a 0 second delay, because usually when you make that campaign, especially out of the box, I do believe, waits 1 day, send text, send email. No break in between. They just boom, they send. So what we did today was, through our sales follow-up, one of the things we did today was I went through and I did it sporadic through the entire sales follow-up campaign, clear 180 days. I went anywhere from 2 to 6 minutes of difference in time. So I just did it different on everyone. 2, 3, 5, 3, 4, 6, 2. That way it looked, now it will look, when someone goes in our sales follow-up campaign, they get a ding. It's an email. Oh, that's that roofing company. They put their phone back down. 4 minutes later, ding, they look, oh shit, they just text me too. It will look as if it's realistic. I hope. Like I said, there's no guarantees that works, but as a customer, I do have to believe, I would feel much more so that, damn, they really are wanting to talk to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More so than it's just their stupid computer shit sending me messages. I would actually believe that much more so. So that was one of the big things we did today, that we're always getting better. We're always trying to get better. And anything we can do to take these automations, make them look 100% real, like a human sent them, the better the close rate is. As soon as I pulled some periods and put a couple of typos in my sales follow-up, we started getting responses. So, that's what we're doing. That's the big one we're trying to do. The other one is like when you start a campaign. So typically when a campaign starts, there's zero lag time. So for instance, like when we send a quote, it sends the quote and then boom, there's this automated message right up. Or when somebody goes into the one column, they just sign the contract. It is instantaneous. 3 seconds later, they're receiving a text and an email right now. So what we did, even on that first one, what we did was we put like, I can't remember what it was. I think it's 1 hour or like 40 minutes or something after they sign a quote until they get a text message, and then 4 minutes later they get an email. So just to do anything we can to make that look as realistic as possible, because there's nobody sitting there with their phone in their hand with the message already typed waiting on you to sign the contract just so you can hit send. No, they know that that's automated. So now we put 30, 40, 50, whatever it was, a significant amount of time that makes it look realistic. You sign it, half hour, 40 minutes later, you get a message. Hey, thanks. This is John with Rainstoppers. Thanks so much for trusting us with your project. I'm going to shoot you an email here in a few minutes describing what to expect next. And then sure shit, 4 minutes later, our automated email goes out and it looks real that way.
I like that. I like that. We yeah, we might have to adjust some of those default templates in Proline. We do introduce intentionally a little bit of randomness into Proline's automations. There's in most cases it's between 3 and I think 7 seconds. So there's like a little bit of intentional inconsistency for a number of different reasons. But it yeah, that's not quite enough.
It's not, and I don't think there's anything wrong with what's out of the box. I don't think there's anything wrong with automations. I mean, I get automated messages from companies that I do business with. Sometimes I respond to them if I'm ready to talk to them or I need their service or their assistance. But I think that's great out of the box. I just think if that's the method of communication that you're going to lean on, I think you need to take it into your own hands and really customize it to fit what you're trying to do. And for us, what we're trying to do is take automated messaging and make it look as realistic as possible. That's what we're trying to do.
Yep. Yep, for sure. Well, that makes sense. Makes sense. Next question is, can you use cold calling for roofing sales?
So I was just presented with, what was it, 2 days ago? It's a system, and I don't know how many people are using this. I actually just talked to John about it yesterday. It's not true cold. Well, it would be cold calling, but it's this system. It uses AI and it picks up what people are searching on Google, and it picks up terms. So if they type in roof replacement or leaky roof, something like that, this system can capture their data. It can capture their email, their name, phone number if applicable, and then you can cold reach out. Now, not necessarily phone call, maybe a cold email. The guy I was talking to that's trying to, he's trying to sell it to me, and he's a great guy. I trust him. But he's got multiple contractors using this that he swears are having great success with this. But I don't think that's completely cold calling, because you are getting some insight that they are actively seeking a roofing contractor, right? So it's a little bit different. I could see that working much more so than like true. I don't cold calling. I don't know. I don't understand how the idea behind it. In I don't know where you get your contact list. That's the problem. You have to use some
Yeah.
format like what this guy's offering. You have to use some software that can find people that are actually looking for that kind of service or have been looking for that kind of service. I don't know how else to find it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So did John tell you about how we did this?
Mm-mm.
The same thing. We did the exact
Mm-mm.
same
No.
thing. I found a data source that was it's called buyer intent data. So they identify people that are searching on Google. There's a couple of different methods that they can do it. And then they convert that into they find matching data for them for phone, email, name, and then and then you get that list, and then you do outreach to them. We tried this for a little bit. There's a couple issues with it. One, it's highly illegal. You will get hit. You risk getting hit with some massive FCC fines. So that's one thing to know. If specifically for cold outreach, because the buyer intent's not an opt-in. So there's no one, they're not opting in to get contact from you. So you are cold outreaching for a B2C purpose. B2B, you can get away with generally. But to do kind of cold calling and stuff like that, as long as it's not automated. But for B2C, there's different rules around opt-in for B2C. So that's one risk. Doesn't mean you can't do it, it's just a risk. But the other thing that we found, and it may be different now, the data may be better. But what we found is the data was not reliable. There was no way to verify. And so I think we ended up contacting a few hundred people, and we didn't get a single appointment out of it. And it was just ended up pissing everybody off that we contacted because they were like, "Oh, I didn't fill out a form. I didn't ask to be contacted by you guys." Um, and it was pretty expensive. So we were
Yeah.
paying a lot for and no results from it. And and also that what would often happen, this is another thing that would often happen is you'd get a name and then you get an email and you get a phone number and you'd get sometimes you get social media too. And if you went and looked up each individual thing, if it was a unique name, a lot of the data was based tied back to the person's name. So what you would often have is the email would be associated with a different person with the same name. And then the phone number would be associated with a different person with the same name because there's no real way for them to like verify the data. It's all tied back to the name. So there's like multiple steps of like matching data that occurs, and there's a lot, at least when we tried to do this, there's a lot that got lost in translation where it's like maybe there was a person named Will Smith that was searching for a roof, but that's not his phone number, that's not his email. And like you call the person and they live in like with Wisconsin, and it's like that is a they are named Will Smith, but they don't live anywhere close to you. But that was our experience. It may be different now. I think there's still a lot of risk involved, but the it may be different now.
Yeah, and the price is what's got me. It's $20 a lead. So,
That's pretty high.
and I feel like the volume's got to be super high to have much success. And at $20 a shot, it's like, whew, I mean, I'm thinking you're going to need, you know, 20, 30 of these things just to get an appointment. Best case scenario.
Can you
Best
get
case.
addresses? Can you get addresses from these?
I don't remember what all it was, but I mean that would be great because then you could maybe set them up on some sort of direct mail or door knock them. Door
Yeah,
knock would be best, but
yeah,
but
because
yeah,
door knock,
I
there's
don't know
no
if that's
legal issues
included.
there. Like you can go door knocking with no legal that I know that I'm aware of. There's no legal issue with going and door knocking them.
Right, and maybe that's how they're getting around it. They have the address, and yeah, I don't know. on that. But yeah, it's an interesting play. I've never heard of it before, and but to me, that's if you're going to cold call, you got to have somewhere to start. So you asked about cold calling. I don't know how the hell else you do it. I mean, if you're doing cold calling another way,
Well, what about for
you only need a roof
commercial?
every like 25 years. So your chances of finding somebody just through cold calling that needs a roof is pretty unlikely.
Pretty slim. What about for commercial though?
So that's different. That's a lot different because commercial, there's a lot more chances of permits pulled, things like that. Like residential, there's so many people that don't pull permits. There's so many, but in commercial, it's much more regulated. So you can like even see, okay, well, this building hasn't had a permit pulled. It's public knowledge since 1990, whatever. You know their roof is getting old. You know, you could spend the time, and there's technologies out there available that you can that are expensive as hell. They're really expensive, but there's technologies that will even get that and give you that information. Um, that's different. That you can, but then again, you're still getting that information. You're still looking and seeing what because like those softwares will tell you that company, someone on that IP address in that company was looking up commercial roofing contractor. So you're getting that information still. You're still getting info that they are actively looking for that kind of service. And then then it's cold outreach, but it's incited cold outreach. You know already that they are looking for that service.
Yep. Yep. That makes sense. Um, a related question here. How does one do door-to-door sales without being scammy or pushy?
So I did it a few weeks ago for the first time, and basically I just, hey, look, knock on the door. Hey, I'm Scott with Rain Stoppers. Noticed you had a couple shingles up there. I'd love to give you a free quote and just get something in your hands. Um, you know, don't need anything from you. Not asking you to sign anything. Just would like to give you a free inspection. That way, you know what's going on up there, and maybe be able to help you through your insurance process. See if we can save you some money because you're going to be putting a roof on this thing sooner than later, and we'd just like to be here to help you. Just basically being a servant to the person. Hey, I'm just here to try to do you a favor. Can I do you a favor real quick? We're kind of the guys in the community that try to take care of customers, and you're going to need our services sooner or later, but we'd like to just be here to help you. That's how I handled it. I knocked 6 doors. 2 of them clearly were not home because there was not a single car in the driveway or in the garage. So I mean, I know they weren't home. I got 4 appointments. So the 4 people that were home let me do inspections, all 4 of them. So I only knocked 6 doors. We were out for about an hour. You know what I mean? So it's not like this was some huge like test pool, but it definitely, I definitely got on roofs. I did company cam inspections. And 3 of them are in the process with their insurance company right now.
Wow. So yeah, it's like, so the key, I mean, the key is just to be a servant.
I think you just got to like, I've watched other guys do it and they're real pushy and real, and like, I don't disagree with the contingency agreement. I think that's a great thing. I think once you get to a point, then that's a great thing. But I think on day one, you should not be shoving a contingency agreement in a customer's face. I think you should be trying to be a servant, try to help them as just a member of your community. And then once you've got an email chain, I've not given any of those homeowners quotes. My goal was to not give them a price. Let's get a conversation going with insurance. Let me build a little bit of trust with you. And then maybe I'll give you a contingency agreement. Hey, we will take it from here with your insurance company. I need you to sign this just so I know if I'm going to put all this work in with them, and they do pay for the roof, you don't go hire some, knucklehead to put this on for half price when I do all the footwork to get you the money. Because this is going to take me some time and some effort. I just want to make sure that if I put the time and effort in, you're going to hire me to do it. That so I could definitely see where we haven't done a contingency agreement before. I could see where they could be very valuable because we have done many times where we've worked um, with a homeowner on their insurance and spent a lot of time getting them insurance. And sure as shit, you get them the money, they go get 3 quotes and they find the cheapest guy to do it. And it's like, well, Jesus, I just did. I've been working with you for a month and a half, and you're going to hire. So I definitely see where it comes in handy. But I think to start the conversation, you just got to be a servant. You got to try to take care of them as best as possible with no obligation.
Yep. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, we are just about out of time, so we'll wrap up there for everyone with us. We'll be back next week at 8:30. So let us know or come prepared with your questions if you want us to answer any other questions. Otherwise, we just go through the questions that we already have prepared. So thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see everybody next week.